Steve Gamache with a Chef Knives to Go quick look product video on the Yamashin White No. 1 Funayuki 165mm knife. This knife has a core steel of Shirogami or white paper No. 1 carbon reactive steel. Heat treat rating is approximately 60 plus Rockwell on that core steel. And the construction is a soft iron reactive cladding over the top of that core steel. You can see the core steel showing at the edge of the knife. It has what's known as a kurouchi or KU finish to it. And in addition to the KU finish, it also is coated with lacquer over the entire blade, a food-safe lacquer for some additional protection until that, of course, wears off. A comment on these, that lacquer does extend to the edge, so when you get them out of the box, the edge doesn't seem very sharp, and what you probably would want to do is either remove a little bit of that lacquer or just sharpen the thing, and you'll get it screaming sharp. It's not super sharp out of the box, and part of that's the lacquer coating. But sharpen this thing up and put a nice screaming sharp edge on it, and then that lacquer will get right off the edge because you just sharpened it on the stones. The weight on this knife is light at 4.2 ounces. Blade length is just right around 168, and they'll vary a little bit per knife. They're all handmade. 12 inches overall length. The spine at the heel is fairly thick on this, but then it thins down, and then thins down pretty nicely towards the tip. So the tip actually works pretty nice on this knife. It goes through stuff pretty well. 46.6 is the height at the heel on the blade. Generous height for this length knife. And the handle's no nonsense, just basic oval, ambidextrous hoe wood plastic ferrule. You do have a little bit of a jump here between the wood. There's you can feel that step there between there, but it's just a good basic handle to keep the knife inexpensive. Handle circumference, a little under 3 inches right here, and it fits the knife real nicely. Fit and finish actually pretty good on the blade. You've got some nice relief here actually on the spine choil and neck area, and I don't really think you'd have to sand this out of the box. Here's the profile on the blade. It's a classic Funayuki, quite flat profile. Generous flat spot at the heel and a little bit of belly towards the tip. Fairly thin right at the edge. It's a pretty nice performing knife actually, and we'll sharpen up just screaming sharp with that white No. 1. And so here's your profile on the board. You do have a little bit of a flat spot, actually a fairly generous flat spot, as I said, on the back side for some chopping, and then a fairly gentle profile. So it's not going to have a lot of belly to it. This is a good knife actually to learn to sharpen on because it's got a fairly flat profile, and it's got super easy to sharpen white No. 1 steel, and it's also not super long like a big old 240 Giotto. So this would be a great knife to learn to sharpen on. And it's a nice handy knife. It's a little bit bigger than a petty, and you can pull it out. Got a much sharper point on it, tip than a Santoku would. So it's a real versatile knife. Balance point right about there. And just to quickly compare this to the Murata Buho, which is a similar style knife, this one's a little thinner. The handle's not as nice. It's a little lighter than the Buho. The Buho is stiffer and a little bit thicker knife, although it's blue steel. Between these two out of the box with sharpening, the Yamashin actually I thought performed a little bit better and wedged a little bit less than the Buho. So there you have the Yamashin White No. 1 Funayuki, a 165mm knife.